We come on the air with breaking news of a potential $230 million shakedown of the American taxpayer by one Donald J. Trump. Brand new reporting in the New York Times reveals that Donald Trump is demanding $230 million from the taxpayers as compensation for investigations into him by the Department of Justice. People familiar with the matter tell the Times this, quote, Trump submitted complaints through an administrative claim process that often is the precursor to lawsuits. The first claim, lodged in late 2023, seeks damages for a number of purported violations of his rights, including the FBI and special counsel investigation into Russian election tampering and possible connections to the 2016 Trump campaign. The second complaint, filed in the summer of 2024, accuses the FBI of violating Trump's privacy by searching Mar-a-Lago, that's his club and residence in Florida, in 2022 for classified documents. The mountain of ethical red flags surrounding Donald Trump now demanding $230 million from the government he leads, with his own attorney general set to sign off on any settlement with him, are so obvious even Trump appears to be capable of grasping it. Here's what he said on this last week.
I have a lawsuit that was doing very well, and when I became president, I said, I'm sort of suing myself. I don't know. How do you settle the lawsuit? I'll say, give me X dollars, right?
Yeah. So now we know X is 230 million buckaroos from us, the taxpayers. New York Times goes on to report it will be paid by taxpayers if his former defense lawyers turned top-tier leaders of the Justice Department sign off on it. If the settlement's approved, we'll be paying Trump for two investigations that remain on solid factual ground, even according to people still in good standing in the MAGAverse. One is a probe that led to 37 indictments, 7 guilty pleas or convictions, including those of Donald Trump's campaign manager, 2 other aides, his personal lawyer, and a close ally. An investigation whose origins were investigated by Marco Rubio and special counsel John Durham. John Durham, of course, was appointed by Trump's handpicked Attorney General Bill Barr. Durham found no criminal wrongdoing on the part of the investigators. Neither did Marco. The other is a probe that found Donald Trump hiding classified information in boxes that we have pictures of. We can see with our own eyes. Boxes upon boxes upon boxes. Trump was storing documents, classified documents, national defense information, including nuclear secrets, in his pay-for-members private club. That's a criminal case that never went to court, only because Donald Trump won the election before it had a chance to make it to court. Breaking news on Trump demanding $230 million from the government he leads for his own grievances is where we start today. Former top official, the Department of Justice, MSNBC legal analyst Andrew Weissman's here. Also joining us, New York Times investigative reporter Mike Schmidt is here. Mike, this looks like a story that Trump may have helped surface by talking about it last week. Just take us through what your colleagues are reporting.
Well, look, I mean, even Trump, in the quote that you were reading, thought that this was a little ridiculous. And the rest of the quote is actually just as stunning. He says, it sort of looks bad. I'm suing myself, right? So I don't know. But that was a lawsuit that was very strong, very powerful. So in essence, to what you played and what he says and the rest of it, he can sense the highly unusual nature of this and the ethical questions that come in on this. In many ways, it's a dream for him to be on both sides of a lawsuit. At the end of the day, I don't know what stands in the way of this happening. It's because he controls the department, and these are his political appointees, and they have shown their fealty to him. It's hard to imagine that he will not get what he wants in this case. And that's just remarkable. And I'm sure Andrew will have a lot of thoughts on this, given, the work that he did on the special counsel's investigation. But, I mean, at the end of the day, in some ways, the department kind of leaned his way on the special counsel's investigation. Remember, the Mueller team did not even make a determination about whether he broke the law that allowed for the Attorney General, Bill Barr, to sculpt the results of the investigation without them before they actually became public. Trump claimed that he was exonerated in the entire thing. I understand that he believes there was a cloud over him because of the Russia investigation. But look, he himself on the campaign trail asked for that help. So, I realize that the Russia hoax that he claims is this massive grievance, and it's a talking point and a campaign line and something he talks about on the stump. But at the end of the day, he kind of got off easy in the Russia investigation.
Well, Andrew, it's all those things. It's also an active investigation into officials that serve former President Barack Obama. There's an active investigation into former director of the CIA, John Brennan, and others. There's a document that purports, at least according to John Ratcliffe, to call into question some of the assessment about Russia's 2016 attack on the American elections. This is all those things in terms of what it was at the time. It's also part of a very nefarious effort to criminalize career and political appointees from President Obama's administration.
That's absolutely true. But let's just start with the fact that we essentially have the president of the United States is now the extortionist in chief. We saw it with ABC, we saw it with CBS, we saw it with the law firms, and now he might as well just go ahead and rob Fort Knox and take the gold out. In any normal time, what would happen was that the senior leadership of the Department of Justice that has a conflict here, having their former role being counsel to him, they would step aside and there would be independent counsel. And you know what would happen? There would be a hearing. The last thing that Donald Trump wants. Let's have a hearing on the Russia case. Let's have a hearing on Mar-a-Lago. All of the things that he has tried to avoid. Remember, he always said in the Russia case, "Oh, I'm happy to testify." Yeah, no, he wasn't. He never happened. The Mar-a-Lago case, he tried to put that off. Let's have a hearing so he can have his day in court to show why he actually has the right side of this, and let the independent people at the department show why he's wrong. That, of course, will be the last thing on God's green earth that he wants. But that is what would normally happen, so you don't have this kind of extortion going on. And to me, it just is, he pardoned Santos, and it was like, I can do that, and who's going to stop me? Here, as Mike said, it's like, I can do this, and who's going to stop me? And there really does need to be a sort of political cost to him when this is coming at the expense of our taxpayer money, as you noted at the outset. This is not something that is free. This is something that we would be paying for needlessly, and we're going to have people who are completely conflicted making that decision.
Let me ask you something basic about this, Andrew Weissmann. I mean, what is in the system to protect the institutions from an extortionist, to use your word?
Yeah, so I think what there is the people could try to sue and say that Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche and political appointees should not be the ones to make this decision. And that there needs to be an independent person who's making the decision. I personally don't think that Trump is right, that these were strong cases and that he has a good argument. But you know what? He wants to file his claim and it can be heard. Let him do that, because the last thing he will want, as I mentioned, is a hearing and a trial. He has tried to avoid that. And so I really think it is the only thing that can, in this unusual situation, to say the least, is to have essentially it's sort of a taxpayer lawsuit There are many, many difficulties to that, but the taxpayers will be saying, look, I'm harmed because this is my money and it's being decided by somebody who's conflicted. You can also have bar associations that get into the act because they can say that Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche should not be deciding this, that it's completely antithetical to their oaths of office. They're not his personal counsel anymore, and they have a conflict because they have a duty of loyalty to their prior client, but they now are supposed to have a duty solely to the United States. So that, I mean, it's so obvious that it hardly needs saying that there's that kind of problem. If, however, just to be clear, there is a route, if they were to step down and say, you know what, this is going to be decided by people who are not Trump appointees, then Trump could have his day in court, which I think he doesn't want, and the American people would be protected by an independent determination, and it would go on its course like any other case, which would clearly, just to be clear, this would clearly lack merit. But, you know, he would be able to have his day in court to show why he's right. I suspect he would lose.
I mean, Andrew, just to play the devil's advocate, if Todd Blanche is going and visiting with Ghislaine Maxwell and Lizzie Halligan is indicting people after Trump tweets at them, do you really think they're going to recuse themselves from a settlement negotiation?
There's not a snowball's chance that it's going to happen. You know, you know, of course not. But
okay, you're just telling me what would happen if we were in a normal time.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
You know, it's hard, but I
know.
I hope that Todd Blanche has some part of him says, I cannot take that extra step. Okay. And this has to be that moment.